Hello and welcome to this video on reading one of the CFA Level 1's curriculum. I want to start with a disclaimer. CFAI does not endorse what I'm doing, and a lot of the content is borrowed from the CFAI's website and resource material. Reading 1 is an introductory reading on ethics. It lays out the framework for ethical decision making. The CFA Institute prides itself on the ethical behavior of its members and candidates. In fact, ethics are an important part of the CFA Institute's mission. You can access this reading and the 3 others in Study Session 1 on CFAI's website in the link below in the description. With that, let's move along. So each reading has learning outcome statements to guide you what to focus on. This reading has 3 learning outcome statements, as you can see. The first one is to describe the structure of the CFA Institute Professional Conduct Program and the process for the enforcement of the code and standards. The second one is to state the 6 components of the Code of Ethics and the 7 standards of professional conduct. And finally, explain the ethical responsibilities required by the code and standards, including the subsections of each standard. So think of it this way: the code is the underlying philosophy and the standards are the practical ethical principles. They're very closely connected. Code is high level and the standards just flesh out the code. For those of you who are employed in the investment profession, CFA Institute strongly urges you to discuss with your supervisors, legal staff, and compliance departments the contents of the code and standards and your general obligations under these code and standards. So let's discuss Learning Outcome Statement A first. The CFA Institute Board of Governors maintains oversight and responsibility for the Professional Conduct Program. The CFA Institute bylaws and rules of procedure form the basic structure for enforcing these code and standards. Together, the Board of Governors and the Disciplinary Review Committee enforce the code and standards. Now, from time to time, the professional conduct staff is going to do inquiries to see who's been following the rules and who's not. So the way they inquire is either, and the way they find out about any unethical acts is through one, self-disclosure in the professional conduct statement. This is a statement that members and candidates have to sign annually. The second one is through written complaints in case somebody tattletales on you. The third one is through media or regulatory or other public source. The fourth way is proctors on exam day. If they see you cheating or doing anything of that sort, they will report you. And the last way is through ongoing monitoring online to detect disclosure of any confidential exam-related information. So if there's an inquiry, the professional conduct staff conducts investigation with the following possible results. Either there could be no disciplinary action, they find that you haven't done anything wrong. There could be issuance of a cautionary letter, or they could just continue proceedings to discipline the member. If there is a violation and the member or candidate agrees, there are sanctions, and they include public censure, suspension of membership and the use of the CFA designation, and revocation of the CFA charter. So pretty serious consequences. The member or candidate can plead not guilty, if you will, and there will be additional investigation by a panel of disciplinary review committee members to determine any violation. If there is no violation, you don't need to worry, else you're subject to the sanctions that were just mentioned. So let's get into the code itself. There are 6 subcomponents of the code, and this particular graphic is just taken from the CFA Institute's website. The link for this and the standards relevant to the learning outcome statements are in the description. So here the first component is to act with integrity, competence, diligence, respect, and an ethical manner with everybody. The second was to place the integrity of the investment profession and the interests of clients above your own personal interests. Put the client first. Use reasonable care and exercise independent professional judgment when conducting investment analysis, making investment recommendations, and taking investment actions. Others are to practice and encourage others to practice in a professional and ethical manner. promote the integrity and viability of the global capital markets for the ultimate benefit of society, and to maintain and improve the professional competence and strive to maintain and improve the competence of other investment professionals. So grow professionally and help others grow. So that was the code. Now let's move into the standards. Here are the 7 standards, and some of them have subcomponents. So if you see 3C, 3E, 5A, and 5B, these have further subcomponents. I won't be getting into them in this particular video, but they're covered in the PDF in the description, the same one that has info on the code. So I encourage you to familiarize yourself with these descriptions of the 7 standards. And a mnemonic that might help you remember is PIDDICR, PIDDICR, which is just the first letter of each of the standards. A bonus tip here is that ethics will reappear in levels 2 and 3, so the more time you spend on ethics during level 1 preparation, the easier it's going to be to pick up ethics material in level 2 and 3, and the less time you're going to be spending at that point. So and here's some additional information that's not part of the learning outcome statements, but it will be helpful to know since the curriculum brings it up. Laws, regulations, and enforcement play a vital role, but are insufficient alone to guarantee fair and transparent markets. Ethical behavior fosters trust of investors, leads to robust capital markets, and ultimately benefits society. So you can see how this is connected to the things we covered in the code. Just to draw a distinction, legal behavior is required, whereas ethical behavior is morally correct. Senior management buy-in is the single most factor in promoting ethical behavior among the firm's employees, and the CFA Institute strictly specifically mentions that in the curriculum. And finally, just recognize that everything won't be black and white, and the CFA Institute will strive to provide resources and education to help candidates and members make better ethical decisions. With this, we've come to the end of the reading, and I thank you for watching and see you in reading 2.